Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU Audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Vocational Education and Training, SOVIT, Advanced Certificate in Information Security, ASICE. OSE 044 Server Security. Block 1 Email Security. Unit 2 Email Forgery and Spamming. 2.0 Introduction. Within these days of massive communication via email, it comes to be quite important for anyone to be familiar with the following two terms: email spamming and email spoofing. Times email spamming refers to sending email to thousands and thousands of users, similar to a chain letter. Spamming is often done deliberately to use network resources. Email spamming may be combined with email spoofing, so that it is very difficult to determine the actual originating email address of the sender. Some email systems, including Microsoft Exchange, have the ability to block incoming mail from a specific address. However, because these individuals change their email addresses frequently, it is difficult to prevent some spam from reaching your email inbox. Times email spoofing refers to email that appears to have originated from one source when it was actually sent from another source. Individuals who are sending junk email or spam typically want the email to appear to be from an email address that may not exist. This way, the email cannot be traced back to the originator. 2.1 Objectives. After studying this unit, you should be able to understand times email forgery. Times how does email forgery work? Times how to deal with forged mail. Times prevention from email forgery and spamming. Times email spamming. Times how to stop spammers. And Times sender policy framework. 2.2 Email spoofing forgery. Email spoofing may occur in different forms, but all have a similar result. A user receives email that appears to have originated from one source when it actually was sent from another source. Email spoofing is often an attempt to trick the user into making a damaging statement or releasing sensitive information, such as a password. Spoofing occurs when the sender of an email message pretends to be someone else. Spoofing is often used by spammers, and it's easy to do. Spoofing can be accomplished by changing your from email address. Spoofing, particularly times email spoofing, is a relatively new term used to describe fraudulent emails in which the sender's address and other parts of the email header are altered to appear as though the email originated from a different source. F tilde our example, you might receive an email that appears to have been sent from a well-known company like Microsoft, a government agency, or even consumer fraud reporting. In reality, none of those organizations would be likely to send any unsolicited email that which you didn't sign up for and expect to receive. In short, spoofing is a counterfeit email with stolen email addresses used without the real address owner's knowledge or permission. Email spoofing is forgery of an email header. Header is the part of a message that describes the originator, the addressee, and other recipients' message, priority level, etc. The message appears to have originated from someone or somewhere other than the actual source. While spoofing can be used legitimately, using by anyone other than yourself is illegal in some jurisdictions. Although most spoofed email falls into the nuisance category and requires little action other than deletion, the more malicious varieties can cause serious problems and security risks. A favorite technique of spammers and other mischief mongers is to spoof their return email addresses, making it look as if the mail came from someone else. This is a form of identity theft, as the sender pretends to be someone else in order to persuade the recipient to do something, from simply opening the message to sending money or revealing personal information, according to Deb Shindya, technology consultant, who has authored a number of books on computer operating systems, networking, and security. If the precaution is not taken, anyone with the requisite knowledge can connect to the server and use it to send messages. To send spoofed email, senders insert commands in headers that will alter message information. If you remember, your snail mail had the return address as an indicator of where it originated. However, the sender could write any name and address there, and you had no assurance about its genuineness. Just anyone can send spoofed email that appears to be from you with a message that you didn't write. Why does anyone want to send spoofed emails? It could be that spoofed email may purport to be from someone in a position of authority asking for sensitive data, such as passwords, credit card numbers, or other personal information, any of which can be used for a variety of criminal purposes. Whatever the motivation, the objective of spoofed mail is to hide the sender's real identity. This can be done because the Simple Mail Transfer Protocol (SMTP) does not require authentication, unlike some other, more secure protocols. A sender can use a fictitious return address or a valid address that belongs to someone else. Spoofing is a technique commonly used by spammers and scammers using phishing to hide the real origin of an email message. By changing certain properties of the email, such as the from, return path, and reply to fields, which are found in the message header, these criminals can make the email appear to be from someone other than the actual sender. And, unfortunately, there is nothing that can be done about it at present, no more than there anything to stop someone from writing a false return address on a postal letter and dropping it in a mailbox. It is often associated with website spoofing, which mimic an actual, well-known website but are run by another party either with fraudulent intentions or as a means of criticism of the organization's activities. The result is that, although the email appears to come from the email indicated in the from field found in the email headers, it actually comes from another email address, probably the same one indicated in the reply to field. If the initial email is replied to, the delivery will be sent to the reply to email. That toad spammer email. Typically, scammers use phishing and spoofing to get personal information from you in order to steal your identity and then your money, passwords to accounts or benefits. Pretending to be from a legitimate retailer, bank, or government agency, the sender asks to confirm your personal information for some made-up reason. Your account is about to be closed, an order for something has been placed in your name, or your information has been lost because of a computer problem. Times email address spoofing is the one of the oldest and easiest tricks in the spammer's toolbox. It is the practice used by many spammers to falsify the header information in their email advertisements. By changing the header information, someone can make the email appear to come from whoever they choose. Spammers are now routinely stealing the email or website identities of many people on the web and using them to send millions of pieces of junk advertising, or offending emails. The average person on the internet doesn't yet understand what's happening here, and many legitimate companies are obviously being victimized. It is important to note that spammers don't need access to the mail server of the address they are using. All a spammer needs to do is open their email application, go into the configuration options, and set address to whatever they want. There is no provision in the Internet email protocols in use today to validate or authenticate that any particular user has rights to use the address or domain name. The most common use is to send an email appearing to be from a bank asking you to go to its site with the link provided to re-enter your most personal information. The link takes you to a bogus website. Another tactic phishers use is to say they're from the fraud departments of well-known companies and ask to verify your information because they suspect you may be a victim of identity theft. In one case, a fisher claimed to be from a state lottery commission and requested people's banking information to deposit their winnings in their accounts. Unfortunately, there isn't anything the owner of the domain can do to prevent spoofing. They can only react after the fact when they find out it has happened. Reactions can be as simple as deleting all of the bounces they receive, to posting about the experience on their website, to hiring an attorney to attempt to track down the person responsible. Email spoofing and what can be done about it. Examining solutions such as the Sender Policy Framework, SPF, and Microsoft's Sender ID, which is based on it, are some of the solutions to this problem. Extent of the problem. Gartner Group reports that, from May 2005, over 1.8 million consumers have been conned by phishing attacks into revealing sensitive information. The majority of that was in 2004 to present. Spoofing emails have increased by 4,000% in the past 6 months. The average consumer victim loses $1,200 when his bank account is taken over. The United States Treasury even has a warning about spoofing schemes. In short, Times spoofing almost always involves sending out fake email messages that either contain advertisements, links to websites selling products, usually male enhancement drugs, or ask the recipients to enter personal financial information such as bank account numbers, credit card numbers, passport numbers, etc. into forms on websites that are designed to resemble the bank, credit card, or other company who they are claiming to be. Spoofing can also happen by phone. You may get a call from someone pretending to be from a company or government agency, making the same kinds of false claims and asking for your personal information. Malicious spoofing. There are many possible reasons why people send out emails spoofing the return address. Sometimes it is simply to cause confusion, sometimes it is to discredit the person whose email address has been spoofed, using their name to send a vile or insulting message. Sometimes email spoofing is used for what is known as phishing, which aims to trick the recipient into revealing passwords or other information. For example, you get an email from what appears to be the PayPal's account verification department, or from your ISP, asking you to go to a web page and enter your password or change it to one of their choosing. Internet headers information. An email collects information from each of the computers it passes through on the way to the recipient, and this is stored in the email's internet headers. Tip: Internet headers are best read from the bottom up, as they are added to as The email passes through the system. Virus spoofing. Email distributed viruses that use spoofing, such the CLES or Sobig virus, take a random name from somewhere on the infected person's hard disk and mail themselves out as if they were from that randomly chosen address. Recipients of these viruses are therefore misled as to the address from which they were sent and may end up complaining to or alerting the wrong person. As a result, users of uninfected computers may be wrongly informed that they and have been distributing a virus. If you receive an alert that you're sending infected emails, first run a virus scan using a full-featured locally installed antivirus program, e.g. Norton Antivirus, McAfee, NumberD32 Average, Bitdefender, etc. If you are not infected, then you may want to reply to the infection alert with this information. Your virus may have appeared to have been sent by me, but I have scanned my system and I am not infected. A number of email distributed viruses fake or spoof the from address using a random address taken from the Outlook contacts list or from web files stored on the hard drive. But keep in mind that a virus alert message is quite often auto-generated and sent via an antivirus server, and so replying to the original email may not elicit a response. Alternatively, if you receive an email distributed virus, look at the internet headers information to see where the email actually originated from before firing off a complaint or virus alert to the person you assume sent it. 2.3 How does it work? If you're not a programmer, your only familiarity with email may be as a user. Oftentimes, email client, like Microsoft Outlook. These programs hide the inner workings from you, so when you send an email, it automatically puts your real return address in the sender field. But any programmer familiar with internet protocols can easily manipulate these times email headers and construct an email manually that allows them to insert whatever address they want in the sender field, and it will look as real as any email to the recipient. This technique is now commonly used by mass mailing worms as a means of concealing the true origin of the propagation. In its simplest form, email spoofing involves simply setting the display name or from field of outgoing messages to show a name or address other than the actual one from which the message is sent. Most POP email clients allow you to change the text displayed in this field to whatever you want. For example, when you set up a mail account in Outlook Express, you are asked to enter a display name, which can be anything you want, as shown below in the figure. The name you set will be seen in the recipient's mail program as the person from whom the mail was sent. Likewise, you can type anything you like in the field on the following page that asks for your email address. These fields are separate from the field where you enter your account name assigned to you by your ISP. Unfortunately, it is easy to spoof email because SMTP, the Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, which is the most commonly used technology behind all email, lacks authentication. A common misconception is that the IP address can also be spoofed to hide your JP address while surfing the internet, chatting online, sending email, etc. That is generally not true. It will work in emails for which no reply is needed or wanted, but then there will inevitably be links in the email for you to buy their products, and those links must be real. Although they may be on hijacked computers with the owners unaware of the activity. 2.4 How do the point spoofer scammers get the email address? There are many ways. Times scammers write programs that gather or harvest email addresses from websites, forums, discussion boards, blogs, anything published on the internet. If you have ever written an email to a forum or other online board that published your address on the page, then odds are good that a scammer is sending out email that appears to come from you right now. Times worms and viruses collect email addresses from the address books on home computers that they infect. On infection, worms such as Elavia, Kless and Sober will often perform searches for email addresses within the address book of a mail client and use those addresses in the from field of emails that they send so that these emails appear to have been sent by the third party. For example, a user is sent an infected email and then the email is opened, triggering propagation. Or the worm finds the addresses of user 2 and user 3 within the address book of user. Or from the computer of user, the worm sends an infected email to user 2, but the email appears to have been sent from user 3. Times this can be a particular problem in corporations where content filtering gateways are in place. These gateways are often configured with default rules that send reply notices for messages that get blocked, so the example is often followed by user 2 doesn't receive the message but instead gets a message telling him that a virus sent to them has been blocked. User 3 receives a message telling him that a virus sent by them has been blocked. This creates confusion for both user 2 and user 3, while user remains unaware of the actual infection. Newer versions of these worms randomize all or part of the email address. A worm can use various methods to achieve this, including times random letter generation, times built-in word lists, amalgamating addresses found in address books, for example, user triggers an email address spoofing worm and the worm finds the addresses user 2 at fk.com, user 3 tilde ejekyll.com and user 4 at nop.com within the user's Outlook address book. Or the worm sends an infected message to user 2 at fk.com, but the email appears to have been sent from user 3 at nop.com. These random word generators are why you often see emails in your inbox with gibberish sentences followed by an ad or link for Viagra, Cialis, or other medications and products. 2.5 Dealing with a spoofed email. There is no way to prevent receiving spoofed emails. If you get a message that is outrageously insulting, asks for something highly confidential, or just plain doesn't make any sense, then you may want to find out if it is really from the person it says it's from. You can look at the internet headers information to see where the email actually originated. Well, there are some tentative long-term plans, but all plans require time to implement, and since solving this problem would require worldwide cooperation and agreement, roadmaps and timetables for it will be even more difficult to determine. Implementation would probably involve some changes in the way you do things, too. In the meantime, you, as a user, can do little but be aware that email forgery is easy to do and not unusual, and, at this point in time, inevitable. For instance, never send replies to spam you receive. The addresses tend to be completely fake, in which you waste your time and university resources bouncing the message, or else a forgery of some party who was not involved in sending the mail. Remember that although your email address may have been spoofed, this does not mean that the spoofer has gained access to your mailbox. 2.6 Prevention. What can you do to protect yourself from spoofing theft? First, don't click on the link in an email that asks for your personal information. It will take you to a phony website that looks just like the website of the real company or agency. Following the instructions, you enter our personal information on the website and into the hands of identity thieves. To check whether the message is really from the company or agency, call it directly or go to its website. If you don't have the telephone number, get it from the phone book, the internet, or directory. Assistance. Use a search engine to find the official website. Banks wouldn't ask for your mother's maiden name. Also, look for misspellings in the bogus email. If you get an email that warns you, with little or no notice, that an account of yours will be shut down unless you reconfirm your billing information, do not reply or click on the link in the email. Instead, contact the company cited in the email using a telephone number or website address you know to be genuine. If someone contacts you and says you've been a victim of fraud, verify the person's identity before you provide any personal information. Legitimate credit card issuers and other companies may contact you if there is an unusual pattern indicating that someone else might be using one of your accounts. But usually they only ask if you made particular transactions, they don't request your account number or other personal information. Law enforcement agencies might also contact you if you've been the victim of fraud. To be on the safe side, ask for the person's name, the name of the agency or company, the telephone number, and the address. Then get the main number, see tip above, and call to find out if the person is legitimate. Times check out the list of recent spoofing attacks and the information about spoofing pop-ups. Times look at these examples of spoofing emails to be familiar. Times job seekers should also be careful. Some phishers target people who list themselves on job search sites. Pretending to be potential employers, they ask for your social security number and other personal information. Follow the advice above and verify the person's identity before providing any personal information. Times be suspicious if someone contacts you unexpectedly and asks for your personal information. It's hard to tell whether something is legitimate by looking at an email or a website or talking to someone on the phone. But if you're contacted out of the blue and asked for your personal information, it's a warning sign that something is fishy. Legitimate companies and agencies don't operate that way. Times act immediately if you've been hooked by a FISA. If you provided account numbers, PINs, or passwords to a fisher, notify the companies with whom you have the accounts right away. Times avoid emailing personal and financial information before submitting financial information through a website. Look for the lock icon on the browser's status bar. It signals that your information is secure during transmission. Review credit card and bank account statements as soon as you receive them to determine whether there are any unauthorized charges. If your statement is late by more than a couple of days, call your credit card company or bank to confirm your billing address and account balances. Even if you didn't get hooked, report spoofing. Tell the company or agency that the fisher was impersonating. 2.7 Spamming. J. I. Receiving spam is a common complaint of many internet users. In fact, spam email has become an increasingly bothersome problem as individuals. Spreading spam email find easier ways to invade users' email accounts, leading to the necessity of such tools as spam filters and spam blocker features. But, while spam is on the rise, many internet users still have limited knowledge as to what constitutes spam and what a spam email looks like. So, what exactly is spam? How common is it? And what are some examples of common spam emails? What is spam? The term spam refers to submitting the same message to a large group of individuals in an effort to force the message onto people who would otherwise choose not to receive this message. There are two types of spam. Cancelable Usenet spam refers to spam email in which a single message is sent to two or more Usenet groups. This type of spam is directed at lurkers or individuals who read news groups but who either do not or infrequently post or give their email address away. Cancelable Usenet spam reduces the utility of news groups by forcing through advertising and as such decreases the ability of administrators and managers of news groups to manage accepted topics. This spam is run at a low cost to those sending out spam. Email spam refers to spam email that is directed at individual users with direct addresses. Email spam lists are usually created by scanning Usenet postings, Sterling Internet mailing lists, or searching the web for addresses. A variant of this form of spam is sent directly to mailing lists and email discussions that are used by public and private forums. Email spam costs. Individuals submitting spam email money, for example, ISPs and online services need to pay to transmit spam directly to subscribers. In addition, there are three main components to all types of spam. Times anonymity, the sender's identity and address are concealed. Times mass mailing, spam email is sent to a large number of recipients and in high quantities. Times unsolicited. J. Individuals receiving spam would otherwise not have opted to receive it. Common forms of spam include commercial advertising, usually for dubious product, such as get-rich-quick schemes, quasi-legal services, political messages, chain letters, and fake spam used to spread viruses. Types of spam. Basically, there are two types of spam: intentional and unintentional. Intentional spam comes from spammers who are soliciting products or attempting to commit fraud. Unintentional spam originates from computers that are infected with a virus or worm that activates email distribution processes in the background. The virus or worm attempts to send bulk messages from the infected computer without the awareness of the computer owner. How common is spam? Spam is very common, with most if not all individuals receiving spam at some point in their internet using lives. However, the effectiveness of spam is not comparable. Only 14% of people read the spam they receive, with a mere 4% of individuals buying products from spam messages. Spam is commonly defined as unsolicited bulk email messages. The proliferation of spam has become an extraordinary nuisance for web users. A recent survey in April 2005 found that 28% of users with a personal email account say they are getting more spam than a year ago, while 52% consider spam to be a big problem. 2.8 Stopping the spammers. If your email account or someone in your companies has been hijacked by Spammers, there are two things you need to do immediately. 1. Run a malware scan on your computer. 2. Change your password to a strong password. Run the malware scan first because odds are your email credentials were stolen by spyware such as a keystroke logger. Changing the password prior to this will simply give the attacker your new password. Make sure that the computer or network is clean and then GN ahead with the changes. The second method of email address spoofing can be attributed to a fault in SMTP, just like the Open Relay issue of days past. Originally, core SMTP does not provide authentication. The header can be altered to appear as though an email is coming from a trusted source, yet, even with some improvements to the security of SMTP, spammers are still able to make a message look as if it was sent by someone else. Stopping this type of spoofing seems more complex than the earlier method mentioned here, but it really isn't all that difficult. To prevent this type of spoofing, your company should publish their sender policy frameworks. Data. Simply put, this information specifies which mail servers are authorized to send email for your domain. 2.9 Sender Policy Framework, SPF. Sender Policy Framework, SPF. Spam is a real problem today. Forged email is a big part of the spam problem. Have you ever received a spam email from yourself? How many times have you received an email you know to be spam from someone only to find out it came from an invalid email address? When you try to block the email by choosing block sender, the spammer simply changes the email address to another variation and gets through the block. Until recently, there wasn't much you could do about it. Now there is. What is Sender Policy Framework, SPF? SPF makes it easy for a domain, whether it's an ISP, a business, or a school to say that they only send mail from certain machines. If any other machine is claiming to send mail, they are lying. SPF aims to prevent spammers from ruining other people's reputation. When your machine receives an email from another server that has implemented SPF, your machine can easily tell if the incoming email really comes from the server it says it belongs to. By implementing SPF in your favorite application or on your server, you can be sure that a spammer will never be able to impersonate you when spamming others. Most well-known domains and email applications have already implemented SPF on their servers and products. Some examples of vendors that are already implementing SPF into their products include Sophos, Symantec, Declude Junkmail, Brightmail, Ironport, CipherTrust, MailerMory, Mailfrontier, Roaring Penguin Software, Communicate Pro, and others. 2.10 Let us sum up. Email spoofing is the forgery of an email header so that the message appears to have originated from someone or somewhere other than the actual source. Distributors of spam often use spoofing in an attempt to get recipients to open and possibly even respond to their solicitations. Spoofing can be used legitimately. However, spoofing anyone other than yourself is illegal in some jurisdictions. Email spoofing is possible because Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, SMTP, the main protocol used in sending email, does not include an authentication mechanism. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next